Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Let's stop right now trying to be politically correct. China is the evil villain in the coronavirus pandemic, a very sinister force wanting to rule the world, and there is proof. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. America! Come on, Patriots, call in with your Pledge of Allegiance. Want to hear from you. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you safe, clean environment and the best in tires and service. Don't forget, at all 7 locations, Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And, of course, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning again, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Attaboy, Wheels, thank you very much. And right now, let's go to the weather forecast brought to everybody by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. Right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Can't miss them. And believe me, they've got the rental on the best tools and equipment anywhere, anytime. And I know with the forecast that's on for this week, and we'll hear about it just momentarily, that a lot of you folks are going to be out there trying to work up the garden or work on the lawn. Well, they've got all the equipment for you. Rototillers, they've got it all, the lawn equipment, power rakes, everything. So get a hold of Roger and the crew today at K&R Rental, 678-3122. They can and they will help you. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Windy conditions for today, but we are on a warming trend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are going to be in a wind advisory, maybe some blowing dust by this afternoon, gradually becoming mostly sunny, and we are expecting a high of 66. Wind gusts as high as 40 miles an hour. For tonight, areas of blowing dust. Before 9 o'clock, partly cloudy. After that, we are expecting a high of 43. Winds could gust as high as 35 miles an hour. By tomorrow, everything calming down. Still wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 71. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. Wednesday's going to be the best day. Mostly sunny. Highs are going to be in the low 80s. Then by Thursday, maybe a chance of some storm action, and we are expecting a high of 77. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
That's all right. That's all right, except for the wind. I've had it. Don't chase hats real well. 48 degrees outside currently, and again, our thanks go to Roger and the crew at K&R Rental. They're really good at serving you. Long and short-term rental, you be sure and get a hold of them today, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. Want to mention, caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence to stay on the line for a minute because I want to mention Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I really, really feel bad about that accident that Kevin Butcher had at Daryl's Cleaners, and he's really bunged up. He got beat up pretty good in that fall. And what we're going to be doing here on the program, and as we speak right now, as a matter of fact, my lovely bride is solidifying all this. I want the listeners of this program to help me out. We're going to do a little bit of kindness for Kevin, and he's going to be laid up for a while. And that man has been so kind and helpful, he and his wife Cindy and everybody. And we're going to be putting together a bank account that you can drive in, drop off a little something if you would, to help this man and his family. I mean, wow. I mean, with the coronavirus and people staying home, but Daryl's Cleaners always there to serve you and your family. And Kevin really got beat up, broke a lot of ribs and punctured lung, and we just want to wish and pray that all goes well. Tomorrow on the program, I'm going to be giving you where you can go, how you can drop off, maybe a little check or a little greenback or whatever the case might be, so we can help this family. And I just think the world of them. They've been on our program for a long time. Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And my lunch bunchers, everybody, I urge you to just kind of help them out a little bit. And we're going to be having all that information by tomorrow morning, so be aware of that. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
I wanted to be number 1.
Well, you're not. I picked up the wrong phone line. I'm sorry. Good morning.
No, I'm just kidding. You know, this morning, Channel 11 announced that we currently have 12 cases of coronavirus in Kesha County. Now, how many of them are really coronavirus? And how many of them are hospitalized? You know, because of privacy laws, we don't know who these people are, and maybe we don't need to know. But this thing is getting completely out of control. We don't know who we are or where we are or what we're doing.
Keith, well, my opinion on this is I can't speculate. I can't say that, I don't believe those are coronavirus cases, or there's more or there's less. It's not my job. My job is only to deal in facts. If someone else or some other entity distorts the facts, I don't know how we're going to discern what's right and what's wrong unless we have an investigative report. I don't know. I just think that there has been nationwide, and I think you'll concur with this, I think nationwide there has been an acceptance that when there is a passing, automatically they slip on the death certificate due to coronavirus. And I've heard this happen many, many times, and I question the numbers, I question the validity, and only time will tell.
Well, the only thing that I know for sure is that I don't have it, and that's the truth.
Yeah. And I pray, honestly, I mean this, I pray that you and Nancy stay safe. I pray that all my listeners and everybody stays safe. I don't think that, I'm going to come right out and say it, I don't think the American public in general can stay cooped up much longer. And when I heard Dr. Burke say that, well, we're probably going to have to enforce social distancing all through the summer, my hat blew off. I mean, Keith, this has got to the point where Americans have always assumed risk, and I believe that now is the time to assume more risk. We can't live in a bubble.
Well, let me tell you what happened yesterday.
Real fast.
Okay, we had a call from my church network that our bishop was wanting to say hi to us and give us a gift. And, you know, we drive out to their house, we drive in, and they give us a gift, and then we drive away. And I thought that was so neat that at least we had contact with other people.
Yeah. There's ways to get around it, if you will, but I personally, I'm going to come right out and say I spent time with my family yesterday outside, and we were never really close to each other, like arm in arm, and I'm not going to change. I'm not going to disavow that. You and I and others that are a little gray in the beard and long in the tooth, we don't know how many days God's going to give us left, and I guarantee you one thing, with careful consensus of what to do and what not to do, I'm still going to celebrate with my family.
Well, that's the same with me. The first thing I do in the morning is say my prayers. And in my prayers, I always say, I thank you for yesterday, and I pray that I will get through today.
Amen.
And that is it.
All right, buddy. Thank you. God bless you for your call this morning, Keith. Appreciate it always. Thank you.
You have a wonderful day.
I'm going to. I'm fixing to, like they say down in the South. Anyway.
I'm tired of being second tired.
There you go, buddy. Don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And you heard tomorrow, or what is it, Wednesday, I guess it is, Gina said we might hit 80 or so. Better make sure your air conditioning unit is ready to work. Get the new air conditioning filters. I almost said furnace filters, and that would kind of defeat the purpose of going into the summer, wouldn't it? But get your new air conditioning filters, and so it's ready to work efficiently for you. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call 678-0459, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Really good people. I'm going to do another sponsor right now, but then I want to get into the Michigan State Representative, Karen Whitsett, is a Democrat that is being demonized, criticized, and ostracized by her own party. I'll tell you why in just a minute. I want to remind you about our friends over at Dino Septic Service. My, Johnny on the spot service, fast, fair, friendly service. And believe me, septic tank pumping and sewer and sink drain lines clean, liquid waste removal, backhoe services, oh, they are good. I do urge you, we've used them and they are phenomenal. Nice people. Call Dino Septic Service at 436-6526 or 678-1638. And like I said, fast, fair, friendly service with that big truck that pulls in the yard that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Thank you for being so good. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Karen Whitsett, Michigan State Representative, came down with the coronavirus. And she was, at one point, knocking on death's door. Well, at that juncture, she had heard President Trump at one of his news media conferences, and they were talking about Dr. Birx, Dr. Fauci, and the rest about the hydroxychloroquine. Well, the doctors used the hydroxychloroquine on this state representative, Karen Whitsett. It worked. She got much better, eventually 100%. And after her health had righted the ship, if you will, she called up the White House and thanked the president for talking about it at the press conference. And the president, in turn, very graciously invited Karen Whitsett to appear with 8 other people that had used hydroxychloroquine. And they had come back from death's dark door, and they went to a White House meeting. You probably saw that on television. And they had a very nice meeting with the president talking about the benefits of the drug and how they're healing up and everything. The Democratic Party has gone nuts like rabid dogs, led by Michigan Governor Whitmer, and they are doing everything they can to slander this woman because she spoke with the president and came out on TV sitting next to, not very close because of social distancing, sat next to the president. They are demeaning her. They are absolutely trying to censure her. What does that tell you that you probably didn't already know about the Democratic Party? They are comprised of thugs, villains, and very clandestine people. And to come out and demonize this woman and you know, her attitude is absolutely what all of our attitudes should be. She said, I don't care if the president is a Republican or if he's independent or if he's a Democrat. He's the president of the United States. And he was putting forth an effort to let people know about hydroxychloroquine. And she said, I just wanted to thank him because I took the drug, I used the drug, and I am back and recovered from the coronavirus. The Democratic Party, and I dare somebody to tell me I'm wrong, the Democratic Party is absolutely using, underline that word, using this coronavirus pandemic to solidify an open door for the Democrats to take over in November. I don't care if you agree with me or not. I don't care if anybody's out there going, oh, you're just trying to come up with a conspiracy theory. I don't have to come up with a conspiracy theory. You can see it. The Democrats are elongating the problem purely for their own political gain. And I'm going to say one other thing, too, this morning. I was absolutely shocked by Tom Cotton over the weekend, Senator Tom Cotton, to come out and say, and he's got the proof, that because the pandemic and the coronavirus was released from the Wuhan laboratory, they tried to cover it up, they tried to minimize it, and it was so big, and then it got out of hand, and they let it, they being the Chinese, they let it get out of hand. You say, oh, come on, why? Why? Because they wanted to make sure that the coronavirus was a pandemic worldwide and hurt all countries and all economies. And quite frankly, especially ours. Now, I'm not sitting here as Zeb Bell coming up with that theory. It's already been more than a theory with the proof in the pudding, if you will. And that's why I look at China as the most inhumane and evil source on the planet today. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. Want to remind you about Kevin and Certified Pest Control. These people are good, and they're now offering advanced spider and bug treatment, starting at just $39.95, and it comes with a 3-month guarantee. I'll tell you what, you need to keep those pests away. We've used Certified Pest Control for a long time on my place. They got rid of all the voles and the mice. I mean, adios amigo, they were gone. And I urge you to give them a look at. Go to avoidbugs@gmail.com. I'll say it again, avoidbugs@gmail.com, and book your appointment today with Kevin and the crew. Take care of your spider and bugs. Avoidbugs@gmail.com. They are the best. Certified Pest Control. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I agree 100% with what you just said.
I appreciate that.
Pardon?
I said I appreciate that because we have liberal leanings in the Twin Falls area, And I'm sure there's some in Burley and Rupert and other places. But they write little op-eds for that little rag called the Times-News, and they belittle people like me and you that we are to be considered as conspiracy theorists. Well, listen. When now the proof is in the pudding, as Grandma used to say, and it's starting to come out more and more that China really backed up and said, hey, if we're going to take a beating economically, everybody's going to take a beating, and they let this thing go. You've heard this, Doug, I know, because you're a news junkie.
Yes, and I'll add one thing to it. I think, and this is my opinion, I mean everybody's entitled to theirs, but prove me wrong. I think the Democratic Party was in cahoots with them.
Well, again, that's speculation. And I'm not going to say one way or the other because I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the rocks to be rolled over, if you will. But I'm telling you, Doug, and I think the facts are out there, the Democrats, are using this as a very insidious plan to hurt and destroy the Trump campaign going into the November election. And I wish the Democrats would have the backbone to stand up and say yay or nay. But we don't seem to have many calls from them, Doug.
No. And why do you think they're delaying every time something, we're going to help somebody? Why do you think they delay a couple weeks? So they can stretch this thing out as far as they can.
Oh, yeah. There's no question. I want you to address what I was talking about just a moment ago, though. I'm sure you saw this lady, and she is as sharp as a tack. She's extremely articulate. Michigan State Representative Karen Whitsett of Michigan. And, boy, when she started to nail the paper up on the wall about what Governor Whitmer and the other Democrats of the Democratic Party in Michigan and also nationally are trying to do to slander her, I mean, again, the proof's in the pudding.
Exactly. We need more people in government like that young lady. And she's a Democrat, and I'm not, and I don't like the Democrat policies, but that young lady has got the backbone to stand up and say thank you when thank you's due, and to stand up and say this is right and this is wrong.
Absolutely. And for her to take the initiative, and really think about this. If Doug Martin, and I know you well enough that I think this is absolutely the truth, if Doug Martin had been in that person's shoes, and you had been knocking at the dark door, and your doctor came in and said they are talking about hydroxychloroquine, we're going to try it and see if it works and help you, and all of a sudden 3 days later you're back on your feet and you're back looking at the world with rose-colored glasses, and let's just assume that it was during the Obama administration. I know you well enough that you probably would have called up and said, President Obama, we differ politically, but I want to thank you for what you did on announcing about the hydroxychloroquine. I know you would have. I would have. But today, anybody on the Democratic left side of the aisle that says anything positive about President Trump, they're going to go for a long walk off a short pier.
Exactly. The Democrats do not want our president and this nation to have a win.
That's right.
Because if he has wins, if they agree with him, then there's no way they can beat him. And there's no way they can beat him right now.
Wait a minute, though. I have a little difference of opinion, and Wheels, there's a little bit of feedback there. Thank you. I've talked to a lot of people back in D.C. over the last couple of days, especially on Friday. And there is a great growing concern because of the lies, because of the innuendos, because of the twisting of the news by 90% of the news media. There is a concern about what might happen come November, and I don't think any of us need to rest on our laurels.
No. Everybody that supports this president needs to get out and vote come November.
Absolutely.
But you look what the Democrats, the candidates, they put up to beat this man. None of them could hold a candle to him. None of them would work like him. None of them would be as ethical as President Trump and as transparent as President Trump has been.
But there is a faction in this country that at all costs, they got to get rid of Donald Trump. Listen, I got another call waiting, but I want to so much tell you how much I appreciate your call, Doug. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but the reason they want to get rid of him is because he is exposing them for all of the things they have been doing to this country.
Absolutely, absolutely. And your little 10-second spiel, please.
Help our senior centers. I mean, we're all getting closer to needing them. And
yeah.
So, I mean, you can't go there and eat right now to leave with a full tummy, but you can help and donate and volunteer and leave with a full heart.
There you go, Doug. Thank you much. Appreciate you. Caller number 2, I'll be right there, I promise. But, Wheels, would you please tell us about the May 19th primaries?
Idaho's primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th. Here's Speaker of the House Scott Bedke to explain this year's voting by mail.
This year it's going to be a little different. You will be getting an absentee ballot request form in the mail. Fill it out. Send it in. Then the county clerk will send you an absentee ballot form. This is how you vote. Fill it out. Mail it in by May 19th. If you have other questions, don't hesitate to call your county clerk's office. Paid for by Bedke for Idaho.
Thank you, Scott. Appreciate it. Caller, you're on the air. Thank you so much. Caller, talk to me.
Oh, good morning, Zeb. I think China has put the world on notice that if they don't get their way, they have the power to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're right about knowing. They knew what they were doing when they came down with this virus that we've got.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely think that's what this is. They did this on purpose.
You know,
life means nothing to these people.
That is so true.
Thousands of their own people that wouldn't bother them in any way at all.
You know, that's so true about all the different allegations and finalizations that have been found out about the Chinese government, their regimes of being very inhumane and absolutely sadists against their own people. I couldn't agree with you more. But the cover-up is such that you don't have to be a person of 20/20 vision to see honestly and understand that if they're going to go down and they're going to get hurt economically, they're going to let the world get hurt. And quite frankly, it's an equalizer. They knew, the Chinese knew, that other countries, smaller economies, would look to them for aid and assistance so they could contain and gain more control. And I think anything about the Chinese government is so sinister, I have nothing good to say about them.
Yeah, as far as this thing goes, staying at home, I was in Lowe's and Home Depot this weekend, and it was standing room only. That place was so busy that the people just aren't that scared about what's going on.
Well, I don't know about being scared. I know that I'm going to use the masks if I go into a public place. I'm going to be careful about what I touch and all that kind of thing. But I'll come right out and say it. And for those that are naysayers against me, have at least the backbone to call me. I'm going to go out and I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm not going to sit there behind closed doors and go, oh boy, I'm 72, soon to be 73, and it looks like I might spend all of 73 into 74. I'm not going to do that, Tony.
Well, the only thing that I saw was spacing. That's what people were doing, was spacing.
Yeah.
There weren't too many people that had the masks on.
Well, you know, I just think in a closed confine of indoors, masks may be a very good idea. But I'm outside all the time. And I'm certainly not going to curtail my outside activities and just hermitize myself. I can't do that. I won't do that. Tony, you're always appreciated. You and Mary stay safe and stay well. God bless you. Thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you, Zeb.
You're welcome. Don't forget our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. Oh, they've got the equipment for the lifting, the digging, the pushing, and the carrying. Old Wild Bill Cody can tell you all about it over there, I'll tell you, at the 159 West Highway 30 location in Burley, and they've got another location with our old buddy Eli at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location. All the trenchers and all the scissor lifts and all the bobcats and all the Tucson, wheel loaders and excavators. Oh, my. Berry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in, see them today. You know what? It is really unbelievable that President Trump, think about this, and if you don't agree with me, please let me know. At least my audience has the nerve to come in and call in and say, well, I don't know if I agree with you or not, but here's another point. But we very seldom, and quite frankly, that word turns to never, hear from any Democrats about their party or their platform. But President Trump has never had a chance. Think about that. From before 2016, when he came down the escalator with his wife and announced that he was going to throw his hat in the ring to be the president, the media and the left and the Democrats went after him like, whoo, look out, we're going to get him. He never had a chance. Never had a chance. The Democrats have been like a pit of snakes, biting with venom on falsified issues, whether it's the Russian collusion, whether it was the phony dossiers, whether it was the long, boring Mueller report. Oh, but that didn't work. So now, over a phone call with the president of Ukraine, we got him, we can impeach him. That didn't work either. But now, all of a sudden, gee golly, timing was, it was perfect. Right after the impeachment, here comes the coronavirus. How dare you insult people's intelligence, anybody out there in the radio world, by thinking that there isn't a little hokey pokey going on, and you don't have to turn yourself around. The economic recovery in this country was amazing. President Trump and his administration had us at the best economy ever. And then the Chinese with the coronavirus. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I'll make this short, Zed, but it needs to be said, I think. We need to fight on in this country as our troops did in World War II after listening to broadcasts from Tokyo Rose.
Okay, I agree. I think that we've got to always stay on the offense instead of cowering down and getting on our knees going, oh, please, liberal loons, don't hurt me. Well, I'm not going to quit. I'll tell you something that's going to happen here, my dear friend Earl. Economically, I'm going to try to ride the tide, and I'm certainly hoping I can keep all of my advertisers and my sponsors and even enhance some more so that I don't have to quit. But, you know, it's all economics. If all of a sudden the money's not there, neither am I, but I'm going to keep on fighting for as long as I can.
Yeah, down to our last breath.
Absolutely.
But I think about those boys in the Pacific when the ones that did hear broadcasts from Tokyo Rose, how their courage was lifted to go on and fight.
Yeah.
With that being said from her. So I thought I'd bring that up. Things are starting to remind me so much of what went on then is going on today.
Earl, thank you, and God bless you. The man up on the mountain, thank you so much.
My best to you and audience.
I appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. You know, I will say this, and there may be those that are going to just really want to ring my telephone cord, but we're not as tough as we used to be. We are not, as a nation, as tough as we used to be. Now, what Earl just said about the American spirit and the American vision of when we were in World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, the list goes on. There was a stick your chin out and go get 'em attitude. And it seems as of late, and I'm not pointing my finger at the entirety of a generation. Please don't misinterpret this. I know some will. But the millennial generation today, I don't think really knows and appreciates, because of the education system, because of their teachers that are liberal loons, because of the university system. I don't think they really appreciate the blood, sweat, and tears that have been provided for them to live in this country. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. I have to agree with you, but also it extends to the parents at home to help teach their kids the patriotic and what it means to be American, and not just the school teachers at school, but also at home. And what I called about is, do you think this episode, this pandemic going on, is going to awaken the American people to realize that we need to bring manufacturing back to our shores, regardless of what the elitists think?
It better.
I think that it's now time to bring back the pharmaceutical industries and all that other kind of stuff that the Chinese have been taking over for the last while.
Let me jump in and have a little correspondence with you here. I absolutely appreciate you bringing this up. It had better. I'll just use the words, it had better. Because I'm afraid, Riley, I am afraid that our illustrious three-piece suit, wingtip shoes, senators and congressmen, and some of the ladies too, are going to poo-poo this along and saying, well, we're going to do this and we're going to get tough with China, etc., and then nothing gets done. I want to see proof that we're going to bring the pharmaceutical business back here to where it's safe for our people in this country. I want to see more power from the United States. I want to see less power to China. I want to see us regain the respect of the world because we carried a big stick and we knew how to use it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does, but also in bringing back industry to our shores, back to our country.
Absolutely.
We need to be able to lighten up on crucifying them, I guess you could say, with taxing for every little thing, penalties for everything. I'm saying they need to operate properly and environmentally, but that's why a lot of these left in the past. Am I not wrong?
Absolutely.
They left because of all the red tape they have to go through to run an industry here.
Yeah, and then there were some that were corporate business leaders and business leaders in general that thought maybe they could go and employ the cheaper labor and cheaper confines of going overseas. A lot of the American business people, I didn't say all, please don't misinterpret, but they sold our country down the drain and they should be admonished for it. I totally agree with your call this morning.
Well, I looking forward to seeing all that come back to our borders and country of origin labeling.
I hope it does.
Is another thing that's a must, I feel.
Absolutely.
We give our farmers a chance, and we're just cutting them off at the knees every time we turn around. Not us in this area generally. I'm talking about the U.S. in general. But
couldn't agree with you more.
I'll let you go, my friend. You have a good day.
Riley, thank you. You're always welcome. Sharp young man. Thank you very much. Calls welcome 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk about Drop Out, Joe, in just a moment. Hey, don't forget, hearing is essential for communication. I mean, it allows people to feel connected to others and understand what's going on in the world around you. And Dr. Christine Pickup and the staff at Mount Harrison Audiology, they are there for you in a very difficult time. I urge you, and I mean this, to give them a call and find out how they can serve your hearing health, and they can. I know it's going to be a little tough for a while to get together with appointments and everything, but please call and find out more at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And the number to call, 312-0957. I'll repeat that number again, 312-0957. And right now, they bring you the weather. Here's Gina.
Windy conditions for today, but we are on a warming trend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are going to be in a wind advisory, maybe some blowing dust by this afternoon, gradually becoming mostly sunny, and we are expecting a high of 66. Wind gusts as high as 40 miles an hour. For tonight, areas of blowing dust, Before 9 o'clock, partly cloudy. After that, we are expecting a high of 43. Winds could gust as high as 35 miles an hour. By tomorrow, everything calming down. Still wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 71. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. Wednesday's going to be the best day. Mostly sunny. Highs are going to be in the low 80s. Then by Thursday, maybe a chance of some storm action, and we are expecting a high of 77. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Gina. Thank you for your great job. Don't forget, great job also to Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And believe me, they can and they will help you with all your hearing problems and needs. Give them a call, please. 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And just out of magic, here's another caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Well, over the weekend, I was driving down Overland, and I noticed it was sunny, no wind, but I didn't see anybody. Usually on a beautiful spring day, Overland on a Saturday morning is packed. People are out doing things and happy and got spring fever, and the feeling hit my heart that it said we are being, forced to be afraid, being forced to be into our homes, and God forbid, there are some people, Zeb, who don't come out of their house anymore.
Yeah.
All they do is, I guess they live on welfare, and they have a phone, food, and shelter. They don't care about anything, including their fellow man, maybe even their spouse and their children. And I just said to myself, it scares the hell out of me is what it does. And I called the governor's office, and I left a message. But it's all new now, because I call in there twice a week, if not 3 times. And now, they've got spousal abuse and child abuse hotlines and suicide hotlines, because what's happening is as people are forced to be in their homes, or and the children are out in school and life is stressful, people are running out of money. Now, the toll is taking its toll, this thing, besides the virus.
Yep. I absolutely concur. I'm not going to go into any elaboration on this point, Randy, because I'm going to leave it very vague, but I do know of stories. I do know of people in this area that are so distraught and so stressed. I am very concerned for their mental well-being and their family well-being. I absolutely know exactly what you're talking about. Life is a risk. Every day that you get out of bed and put on your boots and go out that door, it's a risk. Your job is a risk. Everything you do to get to the job and get back home is a risk. And for those that are writing in the op-ed pages of our Times News and other newspapers and criticizing people for having to go to work, trying to feed their family, trying to make a living, worried about whether their business is going to go belly up, those people are not associated, I think, with real life. I was listening to Andrew Cuomo last week, the governor of New York, when he was criticizing people that are wanting to go back to work. And he said, well, if you want to go to work so doggone bad, why don't you go become a healthcare worker and just aid and assist what's going on? No addressing to losing a business. No addressing to losing all the employees. No addressment to what is your future going to be. These people, the elitists, are completely nuts.
Well, again, it's amazing the amount of people that are involved in the conspiracy to get rid of Trump, but it's just like you don't even have to belong to it. You just do it because you're a mindless zombie like him. He told his brother, I'm governor and you're not. I mean, he's an idiot. But you see, it is scary. But, like I said, Saturday afternoon, it just seemed like nobody ever really got outside. Usually people are busy, and I even called back again, and I asked Governor Little, and I don't know how he gets these messages, and he's a rancher. I said, have you went out and saw any ranchers that are worried about the price of beef? Have you went out and saw any dairymen? Not only are they dumping milk, they're having to cut back on their milk production. So guess what they got to do? They've got to slaughter 10% of their herd.
Yeah.
Well, this is going to affect the price of beef to the beef man, let alone the dairyman who's got a, the other day there was a...
Hurry, Randy. I got another call waiting, and I'm almost out of time. Real fast.
You bet. Okay. He was a guy up in North Dakota, and he was a cattle broker. He was a livestock broker, and he was telling how people were they were lining up the animals that were ready for slaughter were being lined up, and they didn't have any place to go with them, so they had to kill them and bury them.
It's insane what's happening in the greatest country in the world, America. Thank you. Randy, I hate to be rude to you. I got to get everybody in. Thank you. Appreciate it. Caller, please stand by just for a second. I want to remind everybody about a business. It's a turnkey business for sale right now, and what a great opportunity. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street in Heyburn. I know these people. I know Doug, and I know this business. Outstanding business. Rebuilding starters, alternators, generators, and other DC motors, and sells new starters. I'm telling you, the owner will finance, and it's a turnkey business ready for you. Great business opportunity. Call the number 878-4991 or 431-5282. Business for sale. You better check it out right now. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair in Heyburn. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, the governor's really fallen prey. I found out from church leader yesterday. They may not if they follow these guidelines, the governors, we may not be able to go back to church in very mass numbers until July. Yeah, it's just totally nuts. But people are losing their businesses, like you said. It's just devastating. They're dumping the milk and all of this. But all this social distancing they found is we probably already have pretty much herd immunity. Most people that have this virus never even knew they have no symptoms, and the death rate is less than 0.1%.
Okay, now let me jump in here, Adrian, because I'm short on time, and you made a point that I want to elaborate on a little bit. Chris Houston, that writes an op-ed piece for the Times News that I very seldom ever find anything in his articles that I find worthy or something that I would agree with. But he made me a comment in there about churches that I want to read to you, and then I want your response. And keep it short because I'm out of time. Quote, many pastors and parishioners are declaring such restrictions to be a violation of our constitutionally protected freedom of worship. And he said, this strikes me as stupid. Most churches have gone online with services where followers are free to watch and worship as they please. Adrian, you know as well as I do, a lot of people don't have the convenience of worshiping online, and that, I think, is a really ridiculous statement to think that people can celebrate church services that way.
People need to have that contact, that personal
That's
contact.
Right.
As in worship as a congregation. And all of this streaming and online stuff, and that I quit reading him because he's just such a liberal. Zeb, I can't get a letter to the editor. I've sent you a copy of it in the Times News because it's a very factual letter, and I turned that in 10, 11 days ago. They will not print it because it doesn't fit their scenario. We have to realize the media is so in lockstep in destroying our economy. They want to destroy it. They don't care about us. All they want to care about is their agenda to make us global citizens. Gates and company, they want to have the immunity cards and all this kind of stuff. I mean, we better wake up, and we need to be contacting the governor's office. Stop it. We've got to open this business. Allow, like Georgia, South Dakota's got the lowest death rate in the nation. And they've been wide open.
Yeah.
And it's just going on and on and on. I tell you, Zeb, we've got to stop falling during this scenario that we got to prevent infections.
Life is I got to interrupt you because I'm out of time. I've got, wait a minute, Adrian, please, we can't talk. Wheels, turn him down. Adrian, I've got to override you because I've got to get ready for the news coming up next from CBS. And I appreciate all your comments, as always, but I'm flat out of time. Thank you very much for calling in this morning.
Call the governor, 334-2100. Stop this nonsense.
Got it. Thank you, sir. We are going to take off right now for the CBS News. And coming up next hour, we're going to really get back into this again with Rick Manning. And Rick's right there in D.C. area. Works. He knows the president. He knows the members of the administration. He's going to come on the air at 9:06. Then Frosty Woolridge at 9:30. Don't go away. We got a lot of things cooking over the next couple of hours. Zeb at the Ranch on a Monday. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Good morning, and welcome back. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch on this Monday, April 27th, brought to you by our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a safe, clean environment, and they're open to serve you with also the best in tires and service for your vehicles. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, along with Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, old buddy Wheels has got this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead. Always at Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services.
You know, I called for a dumpster about a month ago. They dropped it off. We filled it up. We cleaned out the barn. We cleaned out the tack room. We cleaned out all the garage. And then we called them up and said, we filled it up. Please come get it and bring us another one. They did. The service was impeccable. Thank you. The same can go for you. They are always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. You get a hold of them today. Really good people. Wheels, could we please have a good word for the May 19th primaries?
Idaho's primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th. Here's Senator Kelly Anthon to explain this year's voting by mail.
The outcome of every election we have is determined by who shows up to vote. This year, Idaho's primary election is a mail-in only election. It's not ideal, and it's not the way we'd like to do it. But your vote does make a difference for all of us in Idaho. So please, first request a ballot, then mail it in, and make your voice heard. This message is paid for by the Anthem for Idaho Senate campaign.
Thank you, Kelly. And don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, working and serving you in some mighty tough times, making sure that when you've got the aches, the pains, the recuperating from surgery or an accident, they are there to serve you. Number to call, 678-1191. They're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists absolutely committed to making sure that you see better days ahead. So please give them a call, make an appointment, 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. It's Monday, and that means I get a chance to really get some knowledge on what's actually happening back on the East Coast with the Trump administration, with the coronavirus mess, with China and everything else. I absolutely put my faith in this man because he's a straight shooter. And I say good morning to President of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. God bless you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about you, Zeb? Did you have a good weekend?
I did, and I'm going to tell you what I did, and a lot of people can criticize me. They do every day anyway. I went outside. I enjoyed my outside activities. I enjoyed being with my horses and my family. I enjoyed going roping. I enjoyed being out and enjoying the great weather that southern Idaho had this weekend. So for those that live behind the windows and look out with the fingerprints on the glass, I'm sorry I can't live like that.
Well, you broke the first rule of the nanny state, and you enjoyed. That's against the rules apparently, and by finding joy in life and doing those things that bring you joy, you have violated the first rule, and that is nothing can bring you joy unless it's delivered by the state. So, congratulations, you were a true rebel.
Rick, all the times you're on here, and I thank God, literally, for you being a part of our program, you always tell it like it is. Where do you think, with your knowledge and the people you know and the people you work with, where do you think we are, honestly, with this coronavirus pandemic? Do you think that vaccines are on the horizon? Do you think we're going to see this as a political tool, even more so for the Democrats leading up into November? What do you think about the overall scope of what it's done and what it's doing?
I think the Democrats are going to do everything they can to make certain the coronavirus destroys, completes the fundamental transformation that President Obama attempted to begin during his term. You get down to it. I watched Governor Cuomo from New York rail on a reporter about the idea of opening up the state, and about how the virus means death. It's death. We're all going to die if we open up the state. And it was so transparently, first of all, staged, but secondly, what the message is going to be for the next 4 to 5 months. And any move to open up the economy with even a little bit of a spike in terms of people getting sick, the cry that's going to go out from the control freaks is going to be very simple. It's going to be, you put profits over people, you put profits over, and now people are dead. And so they're going to attack it from that direction. And so we're just going to have to fight them. Here's the answer, and I'm sitting there seething as I listen to this. I just want to yell at the screen and start responding to him, but of course, he wouldn't have heard me, and my wife would have just sat there and said, I need to go to another room. I can't listen to this anymore. But the answer is clearly this. Every year we have about 40 to 50,000 flu deaths every single year. You don't shut down anything. So clearly 40 to 50,000 flu deaths is an acceptable number. We know that there are, that you signed, Governor Cuomo, a bill that allows for a postnatal abortion. And we know there are X number of abortions. There's over 1 million abortions, babies killed across the country every single year. And you're willing to accept that as an acceptable number of deaths. So, but suddenly, having a disease like this Chinese originated virus, having a disease, you've proclaimed a zero tolerance for anybody dying of it. Well, is this more, obviously you accept 40,000 deaths from the flu nationwide, you accept millions of deaths from abortion nationwide, and so really, and you're obviously willing to accept the increased number of suicides, the increased number of people who die of other things because they're not getting the preventive treatment, and the hospital space isn't available to them because we're keeping it all cleared out for this Chinese virus issue. And so you're willing to accept an increase in heart disease, increase in deaths, cardiac arrest, people who don't get pacemakers when they're supposed to, people who don't go in for hypertension and as a result have strokes. You're willing to accept the increased number of drug overdoses. You're willing to accept all those increased deaths because they're directly related to your efforts to shut everything down because of this one disease.
Yeah.
So how many of those deaths are you willing to accept? What's the right number? How many more suicides should we have? How many more people should be thrown into a life of despair and depression because of this? How many more people should get beaten? How many more murders should we let out on the streets who commit murder? How many, essentially Governor Cuomo needs to answer that question, because this isn't a zero-sum game where you sit there, you shut everything down, and suddenly, there's less deaths and you've saved lives. Truth is, you shut everything down, and you create a lot of death on the other side, because poverty, as the left has told us for 50 years, poverty equals death. And
absolutely.
So you don't get to have it both ways. This is really a question about who do you want to die? Do you want the poorest in our society to die off based on your treatment of this virus, or do you want people who otherwise have ailments, who would likely die in the next year anyway without the disease? That's 50 to 60% of the deaths are people who fit that category.
Absolutely.
So it's not of who you're choosing to have die based on your treatment. And Governor Cuomo is choosing death for younger people, essentially. And that's it's a choice. It's not his choice to make, I don't believe, but that's the choice he's making. He doesn't get to have it both ways and say, I'm saving lives, when the actions are killing a lot of people. And the economic depression we're falling into is going to be catastrophic in terms of the human toll that it takes. And Cuomo doesn't get to be the knight in shining armor here. He's the guy he's got blood spattered on him either way. And if he wants to be the determiner of life and death, he needs to tell us right now who he chooses to have die.
Amen.
Because that's really the choice they're making, rather than having it be kind of based on other things. And I'm frustrated by it. Quite honestly, I'm angered by it. And it's not government's job. We fought against death panels in Obamacare, and got ridiculed for it. But what the Cuomos of the world are setting up is effectively death panels based upon choices are made about who's going to get medical care, who's not, and who's going to die from what disease. And that really isn't government's job.
Absolutely. Wow, that was a great dissertation and a great explanation. Rick, for as long as you've been on the program, you've always had the ability to not only talk about subjects and really make them clear, but you've on occasion told me if I was wrong, and I appreciate that. I really do. I am absolutely taking the part with Senator Tom Cotton this morning, and now a growing number of people like him, that this plot was a plot by the Chinese to let the coronavirus spread and economically kill off, if you will, all the other countries in the world, and China could emerge as the world's controlling interest. I do believe that this was a plot by the Chinese, and quite frankly, I'm going to also stick my neck out on the limb and say that the Democrats picked up on it to use against Trump. Tell me if you think I'm wrong.
First of all, Senator Cotton is on the Senate Intelligence Committee, so he's got access to more information than we do. So if that's a conclusion he's drawn, I'm inclined to believe it. Let me tell you why I think that there's not only smoke, but there's fire on this. We know that the Chinese closed off travel from the Hubei province, where Wuhan is a major city, that they closed off internal travel from that province to the rest of the country very early. We know they did not close off international travel from the Hubei province to around the world. So you took dramatic actions, to protect their own citizens. And when the Chinese did this, they weren't fooling around. I mean, it's like you come across the border, we shoot you. This isn't America. They are an armed terrorist state, and they engage in state-based terrorism against their own people. So they took it seriously, and they were and civil liberties were not part of the consideration. So they blocked all these people from that province, from Hubei province, from coming to other provinces around China. That's why you didn't get massive outbreaks in Shanghai, Beijing, or other major cities around China. So they did that. But on the other hand, they said, yeah, it's fine for y'all to travel to San Francisco and L.A. and Chicago and New York, and it's fine for you to travel to Italy. And, oh, by the way, the Chinese ran ads in northern Italy saying it was racist to not be accepting of the Chinese who came there, and even had something that they put up saying, hug a Chinese person, or hug an Asian, I guess is what it was. So they were actively encouraging people to interact with people from the Wuhan province, or from the Hubei province. They were also lying about the transmission, saying it wasn't transmitted from human to human when they knew that wasn't true. And they did everything they could to make certain that the virus, it appears that they did everything that they could do to make sure the virus hit every major economic competitor in the world while they isolated it from destroying their centers of industry. So a reasonable person would ask the question, why did they do that? How does that make sense? And when you put it in the context of China having been engaged in a long war to take over the West, and the fact under Donald Trump, they were beginning to lose that war with the screws tightened and them having a massive problem. It's really, really, really difficult not to believe that there was some intention in terms of shutting down the Western economies as a result of the spread of this virus. And the Chinese behave that way, and they should be treated like if the UN was honest, they would be treated as international outlaws.
Absolutely.
As it is, we as America and the Western world needs to treat them as economic outlaws, as people who've engaged in, and if nothing else, through their lives caused a death and destruction around the world, and destruction of about, some people are saying as much as 40% of the world's GDPs could be destroyed by this. And we have to treat them accordingly. And you don't get to be a citizen of the world under this kind of when you unleash a pandemic on the world, and every action you take was wrong as it related to protecting the rest of the world from the disease that emanated from your country.
Absolutely. Again, very well stated. I need to shift gears and go to one other segment before we end the program this morning. And you heard it. You heard it. There you go. That's a real redneck term. You've heard it over the weekend. Drop out Joe. You've heard this. I've heard this. And it's all because of the sexual allegations against Biden that took place over 20 years ago. But the networks and the news media, 90% of them, are not carrying any stories about these allegations. Will this be the straw that breaks the camel's back in regards to Joe Biden possibly withdrawing from the Democratic nomination?
I think I've told you that I don't believe Joe Biden's going to be the nominee. I haven't believed that for 3-4 months. They had to get Bernie Sanders out of the way, and now they've got to get Joe out of the way. So my prediction is sometime between June and July 4th, the corporate media will discover that this Tara Reid person exists. And suddenly the Larry King interview that mysteriously has disappeared from YouTube, the Larry King interview, where her mom called in and complained about it, providing corroboration, that will reappear, and George Stephanopoulos and others will be aghast that this occurred, and say that he's not eligible, and they will replace him with somebody who's more to their liking, more than likely Governor Cuomo from New York, who will then pick Stacey Adams, the failed candidate from Georgia who's a black woman to check that box, and that will be the what I predict they'll end up doing. They know that Joe Biden can't be president. They know that Joe Biden can't stand up in a debate and stand next to the president and have absolutely no clue what he's talking about, that would be a disaster. They just needed Joe Biden to hang in there long enough to be able to beat Bernie Sanders. And once that occurred, now Joe Biden's had a chance to prove whether or not he could be a candidate or not. He's not proven himself up to the task, and they will find an alternative. I've given you my best guess as who that alternative will be. But I think if I were betting on the election, which I'm not, if I were betting on the election, I would short Joe Biden's stock.
Let me throw this at you, though, just purely for your conversation in the last couple of minutes remaining. Stacey Abrams, I did a little research on her, and she's never been elected to an office higher than state representative. She has written some really racy, romantic novels that would come back to haunt her on the campaign trail. She's refused to accept the results of the Georgia election. In other words, I know I won, they cheated me. And she's got mountains of debt. I understand that in credit card debt and everything, she's over almost $250,000 in the hole, and she's got some ongoing ethics investigations against her. So how and why could that person, especially her, ever be considered for a VP?
She checks set of demographic boxes, and she's become the darling of the far left media. And all that other stuff can get taken care of. Now, the fact is, one consulting contract to Stacey Abrams can wipe out all of her debt. All it takes is for Warren Buffett to hire her as an advisor for one weekend, and that goes away. There's ways to make those kind of things go away, and the Democrats will do that. The reason that she survives an election is because if they basically do a switcheroo late in the game, people are all going to be focusing on the person at the top of the ticket. And, let's find out about the real this guy. And there'll be very little discussion about the person who's number 2 on the ticket. But from a demographic standpoint and from a male targeting standpoint, MAIO, targeting standpoint, they will test her. They will see if she actually does bring out certain voters. If she would, in fact, staunch the flow of black voters to Donald Trump, and if she helps them down ballot, and they will see if that's the case, one way or the other. And if she does, if she adds value, she'll be on the ticket because there won't be enough ink, there won't be enough bandwidth to discuss all of Stacey Abrams' problems. When everybody's going to be trying to skip. Let's really figure out who this Cuomo guy is, or whoever their nominee is, and so the focus will all be on the top of the ticket, and she will be an afterthought. The only way that changes is if Joe Biden is the nominee, at which point she's the presumed next president because nobody believes Joe Biden makes it 4 years. At which point she will get intense scrutiny, and she can't stand up to intense scrutiny. So Biden can't pick her. But Cuomo can.
Wow. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we practice every week on this program when Rick's on the air, social distancing, and he and I both agreed to keep a 2,147-mile distance. Rick Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. God bless you, man. Stay well, stay healthy, and I'll look forward to next Monday.
God bless you, too. And stay away from those bits and bytes flying all those miles.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Rick. God bless. Thank you. I really enjoy his insight on the program, and I hope you do, too. He's a straight shooter, and believe me, just absolutely a man you can trust. A man you can trust. I've got to pay some bills. Want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Hanson Mortuary. Yes, our dear friends, Joel Heward, his family, and his staff, serving you at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. You know, when there's the passing of a loved one, everything just absolutely comes to a screeching halt. You don't know what needs to be done in such a short period of time, and there's so much stress and worry for the family. Wait, stop. Contact Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. The number to call, 436-5636. They always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Call them, 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Really, really nice people. And when we talk about really, really nice people, we talk about our friends over at Let's Ride. Oh, yeah, get on those four-wheelers or those side-by-sides and get out of Dodge City. I'm telling you, enjoy the mountains, enjoy all the trails, get out of town and enjoy the fresh air. Absolutely. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And this is the last week of April. And I want to urge you that if you have four-wheelers that need to be serviced, you better get a hold of them because they've got a special for the month of April, 15% off on all service work. So please contact them today. 436-4771. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And it's true. This is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. Real quick note, too, about our friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. I can tell you personally, service is absolutely 100%. I had something that needed to be taken care of last week. Todd absolutely jumped in with both feet, took care of it. These are good people. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. They are dedicated to serving you. All you need to do is just pick up the phone and call the number 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Mondays mean that we're going to have one of my favorite friends on the air, and that's Frosty Woldridge back in Golden, Colorado. And good morning, Frosty. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb, and just a greeting to every one of you listening across the country today. And hopefully we are getting a better handle on our health and getting a better handle on the national event called COVID-19 or coronavirus. I'm hoping that each and every one of you and your families are healthy, and that we are, and you are maintaining the very best protocols to keep us all healthy. And all together, we're going to work our way through this thing, Zeb.
You know, Frosty, for the years and years that we've been friends, and all of our conversations, many of which were on the phone, and when you stopped in to say hello, we talked in person. I do not understand, and you got to help me on this a little bit. I do not understand why Americans, tax-paying Americans, would sit back and become so blasé and so lazy about letting people into this country that are illegal and or that are coming in droves from foreign countries that are taking away some of the social amenities that our citizens need to exist and thrive. I don't understand why more people aren't getting upset.
Well, I don't either, and I wrote 2 columns, and I would really direct you all to newswithviews.com on Thursday, the 23rd of April, just last week. I wrote a column called "An Even Greater Threat Looming Beyond the Coronavirus Pandemic," and there's no question we're facing this pandemic. We're facing the consequences of it. I think over 50,000 deaths at this point. It's been making its way throughout the country, but we're going to solve this thing, and whatever it takes out. And I've said in the column that if it takes me out, well, then I'm a senior citizen, 73 years old. I get taken out, then I get taken out. That's just the way it is. No one ever really knows what their departure date is, and from the planet. And I don't either. I hope it's another 10 years from now. It could be another 10 days from now. I don't know. But the one thing I will do is face it when it comes. But what I'm concerned about as an American citizen, as the son of a U.S. Marine, and certainly a citizen who cares about the future, when I wrote this piece, I wrote about stopping all immigration into America because we don't need any more immigrants. We can't afford any more immigrants, and I've written about it in 3 of my books on immigration and population. And boy, oh boy, I got a call the next day from the publisher of News with Views saying, you got to stop writing all of these population control articles that you're writing. And I said, there was nothing that said population control in that entire column. And so all of a sudden, he says, you can't do it anymore, or I just won't publish you. And you're sitting here and you're going, what? And for those of you who don't know this, I'm a Michigan State University grad out of the School of Journalism. I'm a professional journalism student. And obviously, I have more experience than 90% or 95% of most of the professional journalists that write for the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, because I can tell you emphatically that none of them have traveled the world like I have, and none of them so uniquely on a bicycle, and none of them have over 50 years of writing experience, and have published 14 books and on the 15th coming up, and yet they get paid a lot of money, and I don't get paid anything. I write as a citizen journalist to inform the American citizens of what's going on here in America at the ground level, not up there in a big seat in a New York office and hoping or pretending to know they know what's going on here at the ground level. And so I then wrote another article today that's published called Endless Legal Immigration Equates to America's Suicide. And I invited all of those people who wrote these scurrilous letters saying that I'm a population control person. And the fact is, I'm not, and I deny it. You cannot find one shred of work, one word, not any evidence whatsoever that I'm a population control advocate. And I also said I do not and never have advocated or supported abortion or the taking of an innocent life, because I'm a moral, ethical person. And the key here is all these people must be assuming that we don't need to stop legal and illegal immigration. And in fact, just in the last week, Trump has attempted, and he's been backed up by the Supreme Court, to stop all immigration for only 60 days. Well, it should be for 60 years as far as I'm concerned. And he was attacked on all quarters from the liberal press. And you sit here and you wonder, do we really want to have the suicide of America complete? Because so I came to the end of this thing, Zeb, and I said, anybody that wants another 100 million, get that down pat, 100 million more immigrants into our country and think we're going to survive it, tell me what you think and give me the ideas that you want, and I'll write a series on how wonderful it's going to be to have California add another 20 million people, all of our 35 most populated cities add another doubling of their populations, and think we're going to survive this thing. Zeb, and guess what? This morning I've got 20 letters already, and it just all the people that wrote me saying thank you for your work. They said the American people seem to be just brain dead or dumbed down or apathetic, and they really don't understand what the numbers mean. And so I'm hoping that this column gets national exposure, and that we start waking up to the fact that we will not, and I can say this very clearly, we will not survive another 100 million immigrants coming into our country on just the physical level, with the sheer numbers of feeding them, watering them, housing them, working them, educating them. We're not going to survive the sheer numbers as to water and energy and resources. And I've really made that clear. So I would invite all of you to go and read that article today, Endless Legal Immigration Equates to America's Suicide, and then write write the publisher, News with Views, his name is Paul Walters, and say, hey, this guy is on top of it. He's your best gosh darn understanding of, because there's a tremendous bunch of great writers there at newswithviews.com. But let him know that, hey, you understand that, no, we can't continue this immigration onslaught of America, and that any kind of a pause or stopping legal immigration needs to go 60 years, not 60 days. So anyway, that's my morning lecture today.
No. I'm so glad. And I've got it right here in my hand, as a matter of fact, and I highlighted all the various sentences that I want to talk about. But I want to go back to what you said at the beginning of your dissertation. Number one, I have said, and you've said for a long time on this program, that America is not a sponge. It can't keep soaking up, if you will, all the people that want to come here legally or illegally. We can't do it. We don't have the environment, the climate of the business world, and or the housing, and or the water, and or the food, or the economics to take care of everybody. We can't be the catch-all, if you will, for the world's problems. So, that being said, why in the world would News and Views want to censor your work on something that absolutely is very poignant and needs to be said?
Well, that's the $64,000 question. Well, and everybody, News with Views is a business, and they actually make money on their ads and all that. That's how they are able to, and I'm thankful for that. I have been writing for them for over 20 years, but I have not made a dime. I put out, it takes me anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to research and write every one of these articles. Then Sandy goes through and takes an hour out to proofread them to make sure that these pieces that I'm writing are excellent, because I absolutely stand on the excellence of every article I've written for over 20 years, in fact, over 40 years since I've been writing articles for newspapers. And so when some people, all of a sudden, and I showed the two videos, the 5-minute video on immigration, gumballs, and poverty, and I said, if you haven't seen this, then you really are missing what I'm making the point. And, of course, then the immigration off the charts, which every American should see both those videos at numbersusa.com or .org and get them out to everyone, and then the whole country would understand the consequences of adding another 100 million and changing us from the current of the 330 million to 430 million by 2050 and 625 million if we stay on the same track by 2095. Folks, I have been all over the planet. I have been on a bicycle to Asia. You do not want to look like China or India or Bangladesh or Pakistan or Indochina or any of those places. It's people piled on people. They have no quality of life, no standard of living, no education. They have no chance, no hope. There's nothing they can do to save themselves because they overpopulated themselves. Well, we chose back in 1970, every American woman averages 2.03 children. So we took a viable, logical, rational choice to have a stable civilization. And so the people that wrote in, and I mean, they just tore me a new rear end. And obviously they're doing it by emotion rather than facts, rather than reality. And so that's why I wrote this piece, to really clarify for everyone who wrote in, whoa, this Frosty Wildridge character, he's a population control freak, which means, of course, I bet, is that, oh, he's an abortion freak also. Well, absolutely not on both counts, and I made that very clear.
Well, let me jump in here and say that I'd like to have some of those people that made those allegations to you on this program, and I would like to embarrass them right on the air and tell them that you've been with this program for 20 years, and we've been friends for 20 years, and never has abortion and population control been ever talked about that way. Ever since I've met you, and we have concurred on our thoughts that we need immigration control into this country because of the job status, because of the economic status, because of the food status, because of the energy status, because of the environment status. All of this has been on controlling immigration to the point where we can't have this happen in entirety or the ship's going to tip over. I've never heard you say anything on these programs in regards to abortions and population control. That makes me a little upset.
Well, thank you, Zeb. And I think everyone listening, you all know I stand for integrity first. The one thing my dad taught me and my mom taught me as I grew up, tell the truth, treat others as you would wish to be treated. And I have always done that. And because I had such good parents and I had that kind of ethics growing up, it's been with me my whole life. And so when I have attacks like this on my integrity and people putting words into my mouth or making assumptions that are erroneous, it is very, very upsetting. And so at least at this point, most of the time, you'll find, I've noticed this. Good people won't really say much in a situation. It's always somebody that's highly negative, or they're insecure, or they're the ones that are whining or complaining. The rest of us that have a sense of self, have a sense of confidence, have a sense of morals and ethics, we just get down the road. We go to work in the morning, we get up, we do our jobs, we take care of our kids, we pay our bills, and we vote, and we make responsible choices. And most of us don't, respond to articles or say much at all. There are people who write letters to the editor, but they're in the minority. Otherwise, the newspapers and magazines would be overwhelmed with people responding. So the key here is that I'm one of those characters that stands out and speaks up, but so are you. And we need people who are going to stand up and speak out, because those are the people who lead the country, who make a difference, who want to make a difference. And Zeb, you're one of them. And that's why we appreciate each other on a deep, deep friendship level. I mean, you're literally one of the best friends of my entire life. Deanne and you, I love you both. And I stand with you at all times. And we need more leadership like this. We need more people to speak up. We need more people to support what you're bringing on your show each week, because this is the stuff of America. This is what's going to help America thrive instead of where it's going right now if we continue on the path of mass immigration.
I just don't understand the mindset of the liberals and others in this country, that they can turn around and they can call you and I bigots and hate mongers for trying to protect the country, the value system of our country, the economic system of our country, and the Constitution of our country that would protect us as taxpayers first, and others, if there's limited basis for bringing them in, that's fine. But we cannot be a country for all people to come in here, and I'll use the words again, tip the ship over so it sinks.
Well, that's correct. And again, the two videos, every American should see those two videos, Immigration, Gumballs, and Poverty. Again, you can access that. You can access it off the article. It's right there in the article. And the other one is Immigration Off the Charts. One's 5 minutes, one's 10 minutes. If the whole country saw this, every voting citizen, every teenager, every person in the country saw these two videos, there would be a massive protest for stopping, a complete stoppage of all immigration into our country, because everybody at that point would realize we can't survive another 100 million immigrants. Because why? The third world had just last year and the year before that, 83 million new babies net gain. 83 million new babies net gain are added every year. The third world just keeps having babies, and they're in fact going to add another 3 billion before 2050. We're at 7.6 billion right now, and we're projected to be somewhere over 10 billion. Humans will be 10 billion by 2050. That's 30 years from now. Folks, the planet is already staggering. The oceans are already plasticized with over 5 trillion pieces of plastic floating or sunk beneath the surface of the oceans, killing marine life. at unbelievable rates of speed. We can't keep doing this. The sixth extinction sessions going on. 100 creatures a day are going extinct because of human encroachment and poisoning of habitat. We cannot continue to do the same thing to our country. We need to be a leader for the rest of the world. And as I've said, we need a national conversation and then an international conversation on what kind of a civilization are we going to hand over to our children.
Yep.
And I can tell you this, if we continue on this path and we fail to stop mass immigration into America, our kids don't stand a chance to having quality of life. They don't stand a chance with environment. They don't stand a chance with water, clear water, plenty of fresh, clear water, water to irrigate the crops. We're not going to have the energy. And I know I've invited all of you to read the book, Blip. I've got the book right here in my hand. It's the greatest book in the country right now. And it says, Blip, Humanity's 300 Years Self-Terminating Experiment with Industrialism. Christopher O. Clugston. And I guarantee you his research is right, is just like Einstein. He's brilliant, and he says by 2050, 30 years from now, we will have run out of oil, we will have run out of water, and we will run out of resources, and we're going to run out of the ability to maintain our society, our big civilizations. I mean, once that gasoline is gone, anybody got any idea how we're going to run and power our civilization? Because there's nothing out there right now at this point to power America.
That's right.
Gasoline.
That's right.
So, if you read these facts in these particular research books that I'm giving to the American people, we need to change course, and we need to shut our borders to all immigration.
Well, and the disease factor and the economic factors are alone. And I'm out of time, but I mean, we could go on, but I just question the soapbox that the left gets up on, and they berate you and me and others for just trying to state common sense. I just don't understand it.
I don't either, Zeb, and it is just common sense. It's 2 + 2 = 4. And if you put 100 million more people into this country, you've got too many people to water, to feed, to heat, to I mean, everything down the line. And then you have the ancillary consequences. But I want you to know, I'm going to stand up with you. And I just this last weekend, I was on Facebook, and I put a whole population paragraph with a figure. If you've been on Facebook, you'll see that population figure, and it's got the elephant in the room. And I put it all over Facebook, and I put it into Tucker Carlson, I put it into Anderson Cooper, I put it into Laura Ingraham, I put it into Martha McCallum, all of the Fox News, all of the CNN, all of the ABC. I put it into Face the Nation. I put it into Meet the Press. Folks, we all have to do that. And if you need any help on that, putting in a little blurb, put in a little paragraph, I can send you an email. You all have my email, frostyw@juno.com. I work 50 hours a week to bring America the knowledge it needs, you, the American people, the knowledge you need, so we can all make positive choices for the future and for the future of our children. I'm relentless in my quest to do this, just as you are, Zeb. And at some point, these liberals who are either brain dead or they have a mindset that's impossible to educate, it means that we, the ones with common sense and enough intelligence, literally add the numbers up for the American people, and we help change the course of history by simply stating and bringing the facts, speaking up, standing up and speaking out. And that's what I'm going to be doing with you, Zeb, from now on and forevermore, because it's our country that's at stake.
Absolutely.
I can't be more serious about this. So let's do it together and follow the leaders that you know have common sense and intelligence enough to take this action and then be part of the action.
Absolutely.
And that's the key for all of us and our children if we're going to literally sustain and maintain this country in the future.
Absolutely. God bless you, my dear friend in Golden, Colorado. Frosty Woldridge, and we'll look forward, and I mean this, to next Monday. Thank you, my dear friend. Keep writing. Don't put that pen down. Thank you very much.
I won't. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thank you. We got to get to the weather. As you can see, I'm running a little bit late. I want to tell everybody that the weather's brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I can tell you firsthand, they are the professionals providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, business consulting, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. Offices in Burley and Rupert serving you, the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's the weather.
Windy conditions for today, but we are on a warming trend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are going to be in a wind advisory, maybe some blowing dust by this afternoon, gradually becoming mostly sunny, and we are expecting a high of 66. Wind gusts as high as 40 miles an hour. For tonight, areas of blowing dust. Before 9 o'clock, partly cloudy. After that, we are expecting a high of 43. Winds could gust as high as 35 miles an hour. By tomorrow, everything calming down. Still wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 71. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. Wednesday's going to be the best day. Mostly sunny. Highs are going to be in the low 80s. Then by Thursday, maybe a chance of some storm action, and we are expecting a high of 77. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Duran.
I'll take it. Thank you, Gina. Excellent job. And the weather, of course, brought to you this hour by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices at 625th Street in Rupert and 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley. The professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. We're going to be going to the news in just a moment. I want to quickly also remind you about a great company serving you with the best of landscaping and sprinkler service, and that's, of course, Scott Gano. Scott Gano, I'll tell you. And you know what? Their job's never going to be ending with the winds blowing out there, limbs coming down and everything. Wow, 40-mile-an-hour winds today? Well, you might need some trimming on those trees, and now's the time to get your fruit trees trimmed too. Say that fast 5 times. Stay on the air if you can. Scott and his crew can do the job for you. All you need to do is call them at 438-2485. That number again, 438-2485. Scott Gano, landscaping and sprinkler and tree trimming service. I'll tell you, they are the best. I got to try that again. Now's the time to get your fruit trees trimmed too. There you go. 438-2485. We're going to take a run at the news right now from CBS, and then we come back next hour with Pacific Legal Foundation attorney Daniel Ortner talking about the constitutionality of quarantine orders, and he knows. And then at 10:30, Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. 10:46, we've got Representative Fred Wood. Woo! What a full hour. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. Oh, here we go. Hour number 3 on a Monday. Zeb at the Ranch, and brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations are open and serving you with a safe, clean environment and the best in tires and services to your vehicle. Stop in and see your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers today. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. I really urge the seniors listening to this program to give them a call, Matt and Kelly Wiggins, and look at the beautiful 12-bedroom home that they have for you. Oh, wonderful. 3 meals a day, snacks, housekeeping, local transportation. It's just a real asset to the community. You're going to enjoy living there with your friends. Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. The number to call, 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. Also want to remind you, too, about our friends with 7K Metals. And this is really the time I think you should consider silver purchases. Boy, the value's going up, up, up. And for you, for your financial security and future. As a matter of fact, you can kind of create your own financial security bank through silver purchases. And it's a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. I urge you to get a hold of Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259 and find out more about 7K Metals. Please be sure and tell them I told you to call. These are really nice folks that can help you with silver purchases through 7K Metals. Real quick, Wheels, could we have the good word for the May 19th primary?
Idaho's primary election is on Tuesday, May 19th. Here's Representative Fred Wood to explain this year's voting by mail.
All citizens who are registered to vote will receive postcards by mail from the Secretary of State within the next 2 weeks. Please fill out this application to request your absentee ballot, then mail. When you receive your ballot, vote and mail according to instructions prior to May 19th. Please vote absentee ballot prior to May 19, paid for Fred Wood campaign.
Thank you, Fred. Appreciate it. Fred's going to be on the air with us in about 45 minutes, as a matter of fact. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I have with us on the phone an attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation, and that's Daniel Ottner. Daniel, did I say Ottner? I meant to say Ortner. Pardon me, Daniel. Please take my apology, and nice to have you on the program. Daniel, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the program this morning, right now we are seeing something in this country that no one has ever seen before, and that's the taking of our constitutional rights in the name of quarantine orders because of the coronavirus. My concern is, and I've said this many, many times on my program, that some of the rights, some of the privileges that are afforded us as Americans are being stripped away, and I'm worried we'll never get them back. Am I right in being concerned?
I think, of course, you are right to be concerned. We should always be concerned about our constitutional rights being violated. I think this is, as you said, an unprecedented situation. There may be government action that's justified in a crisis that otherwise wouldn't be justified. But all the time we have to be thinking, how do we defend our rights? What is the least amount of harm we can do to our rights in a crisis? And we need government officials to be thinking like that. And we need to be ensuring that they do so.
But they're not. And my point is, I'll go back to a conversation that took place about 8 days ago with the New Jersey governor, and he was asked about, well, is he considering, when he stops all this and puts an end to that, he said, well, the First Amendment is above my pay grade. Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, he should understand the First Amendment and all the amendments.
We need to be thinking about rights. Especially rights like the First Amendment. Courts have said that restraints on liberty, especially for things like free speech and assembly, need to be as minimally invasive as possible. Courts have been very careful to protect and safeguard those freedoms. And so, government orders, stay-at-home orders or quarantine orders may be justified in the face of an emergency, but they need to be carefully checked. There are also a lot of things governments need to be doing that they're not necessarily doing right now, like providing some kind of process ultimately to challenge orders, like stay-at-home orders. Maybe an emergency requires them to be able to do so without an initial hearing or some kind of initial process. But it's been months now, and in that time, you need to provide people a chance to say, no, actually, my business is essential, or no, I am not going to cause a danger if my business is open. You need to give people a process, and that's been largely ignored or denied at the moment.
Okay, now, be real careful, Daniel, to wait till I'm finished before you respond, because I can't have an overlap with the line the way it is this morning. We don't want to cause any problems. I want to ask you about essential and non-essential businesses. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. Every business is essential. Every business is important to that business owner and the employees. Why is it right for a hardware store to maybe let in 100 to 200 people per day, and yet a jewelry store is closed down that might only get 2 people per hour? That's not fair.
Yeah. Well, I think what is essential is that government decisions cannot be arbitrary, and when they are arbitrary, people can challenge them and have done so at times successfully. An example of this in this crisis is in Louisville, in Kentucky. A church successfully challenged the mayor's stay-at-home order. The mayor said, no, you can't have drive-through church services on Easter. The church sued and said, no, look, you're allowing all these other things to stay open and have drive-through services like drive-through liquor stores. You cannot then say, well, churches that are not causing any more harm, any more risk of spreading the virus, have to stay closed. And that was successful. The court said, no, the government cannot do that. It's arbitrary. It violates First Amendment rights. So when the government does things like that are arbitrary, those that are harmed by it can say, hey, look, you're applying your laws inconsistently. You're applying them irrationally, and that is unacceptable.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about churches. I mean, there's been arrests right on during the church service. There has been people that have been threatened. There's been people taken away in handcuffs. I, for one, and I'm going to say this, and I don't care if you're a lawyer or not, I'm going to say that I'm right now bordering on breaking the law or anything that stymies churches, because I think they're as essential as anything else at this particular time.
Look, I think what I've seen is most churches are being as responsible as they possibly can during this crisis. Most churches that I'm aware of have moved online as much as possible. They are complying. They are being good citizens, and the government should not be singling out churches or anyone else for negative treatment. They are, gathering in religious worship as a fundamental right. If it's needed, there needs to be limitations for our time. It needs to be as little as possible, as minimal as possible, and we shouldn't have people, arrested for getting together in a drive-through service, maintaining social distance and doing the best they can to avoid the spread. That's just ridiculous.
Let me ask you a little bit about Michigan Governor Whitmer. I mean, this woman, to my opinion, is bordering on insane by telling people that they can't go out and work in their garden. They can't go out and purchase tomato plants or garden seed, whereas in the same store they can buy other goods and services. And also, they can't go on the lake at their cabin with a motorboat. They can only use a kayak. This is the most dumb thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, I mean, really, government officials should not be getting down to that level of minutia and saying, well, you can do this activity but not that one. Again, it's about, is it rational? Is it really serving the government's purpose? General orders for safety may be allowed, but I think you're right. Governor Whitmer has gone beyond that. She's micromanaged what people can or can't do on their own properties, or whether they can even go to their own properties. Limiting the right of movement, limiting the right of use of your property. I do think that is questionable and could be challenged potentially. Even though courts are deferential largely, I do think that her actions, where you can't even go to your own property, you can't drive somewhere, you can't go on the lake on property like that, would definitely raise serious constitutional scrutiny, scruples or doubts.
Well, let me ask you, though, Daniel, and you're a sharp guy, how do you go about fighting back? I mean, a lot of people today are concerned about, well, gee, I don't want to be the squeaky wheel, or, gee, I'm afraid big government's going to come down on me like a cat to a plate of milk. I think the American public are afraid, if you will, to fight back against Big Brother.
I think we do need to be careful. One concern is setting bad precedent for the future. Crises, if courts say, well, government has this broad power, down the line it could continue to harm liberty. So I think people should be very, very careful and very targeted in what they challenge. They should choose the most egregious or outrageous orders, like that example of that church in Louisville that successfully got a temporary restraining order. That was an example where it was so obviously arbitrary. They're allowing drive-through liquor stores to operate, but not drive-through church services to operate. I think people need to find those examples, bring those kind of challenges where it really shows the irrationality or the arbitrariness or the lack of process that's being given to them in this crisis, because that's going to be most likely to lead to good liberty-enhancing precedent long term. If people just sue challenging every stay-at-home order or every quarantine out there, it's going to lead to a lot of courts saying, well, this is fine, it's in the public safety, it's in the public health, and it's going to lead to an erosion of liberty. So that's really one of our concerns at Pacific Legal Foundations as an institution, is avoiding that kind of bad precedent that in the long run harms individual freedom.
You know what I'm concerned about, Daniel, is that if this goes on much longer with the social distancing and don't do this, thou shalt not go here, or wherever, I'm afraid there's going to be more civil disruption and absolute civil discourse against the government, and people are going to bow their necks and stick out their chins and say, we're going to do it anyway. Then we've really got a mess.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we really need is the government to, as we discussed earlier, really say we are doing the minimum amount that we need to stop the virus. We're not going to just go out of our way to disrupt your life. We have a goal in mind how to end these shutdowns. Indefinite shutdowns, I think, lead to a lot of fear and hostility. People don't know when this is going to stop. If you tell people, it's going to be for a week or a month or a definite date, people can plan for that. But when it's indefinite into the future, it's really hard to plan. It's really easy to get resentful. It's easy to get fearful. So I think what we need is more clarity from government officials about exactly the timeline for opening the government up, and we need the government to really make its officials to make clear that they are considering constitutional rights, considering liberty when they're making these decisions. And when you have leaders that say, no, we're not thinking about that, I think it makes it more likely, as you said, that people are going to disobey the law ultimately.
Daniel, from where we are today until maybe we start to see some opening and relaxing, are you concerned on a 1 to 10 scale? Where are you as far as what rights have been relinquished and given to the government, and how hard is it going to get them back? I mean, are you like a 1, not too worried, or are you at a 9 or 10 that's very concerned about what happened already?
I think this is an unprecedented crisis, and so I think there's a little bit of leeway, but now we're getting on to several months of this ongoing. We need to really be vigilant. I would say I'm at a 6 or 7, kind of concerned, maybe an 8, concerned about it, but not. I don't think it's catastrophic. I think that we are going to reclaim our rights. I do think hopefully this is temporary, and governments are going to be challenged when they go beyond the bounds of what is acceptable for a crisis. I think that largely that is happening and will continue to happen. And that strategic, careful challenges will lead to good precedent that will help liberty in the long term.
One final thought. We're using the coronavirus as a tool, not myself personally or you, but the governments around the world as a tool to basically control the populations. There was not the same attitude when the flu epidemics hit and they were talking about 60,000 people dying per annum, or measles outbreaks or polio outbreaks in earlier years. But now it seems like this is a crutch, if you will, to try to control the people and say, thou shalt not do this. I'm very concerned about the laxity of people standing up and fighting back.
Yeah, well, really, what I hope people do ultimately take away from this crisis is they see what private ingenuity is doing, what businesses are stepping up, converting their distilleries into making hand sanitizer, innovating, coming up with ways to make new types of ventilators, new tests. You see the private market and private entrepreneurship really flourishing in a crisis and showing what it can do. And I hope that the result of that is going to be that people are a little more willing to trust private ingenuity and enterprise, a little more skeptical of government overreach, a little more willing to stand up for their rights. I think that if there's a bright light there, I think people are seeing how private parties private companies are stepping up and innovating, and government is getting in the way, and we need them to ease burdens, to ease regulations, to ease occupational restrictions on doctors and nurses and practitioners. That's really what we're fighting for, against these kind of arbitrary restrictions on people fighting against this crisis. The government ties people's hands behind their backs and stops them from doing the things we need to do to stop the crisis. And I'm hopeful that people are going to realize that and continue to support private ingenuity and enterprise.
Let me ask you, though, regarding the hardware store and or the jewelry store. If the man that owns the jewelry store says, no, I am not going to be termed non-essential, I am going to open my business, I'm going to demand that every person that comes in the door wears a mask, I'm going to wear a mask, we're going to practice social distancing, even though there might be only 1 or 2 people in the entire store, we're going to use hand sanitizers. What would happen to that business if all of a sudden he says, no, I'm not going to be deemed non-essential, I'm going to open my doors anyway? What can they do?
I think potentially they could try to arrest the store owner. I mean, the government could take a very aggressive stance on this, and I would be very wary if I were that store owner to do that, because I think courts, unfortunately, or in some respects, unfortunately, have been very sympathetic or deferential in a crisis. You know, I do think that people should be careful to not jeopardize their lives and livelihoods unnecessarily, especially when courts are not likely to be sympathetic to their claims.
Okay. Daniel, if they want to follow this about quarantining and constitutional values, how do they follow the PLF?
Yeah, our website is pacificlegal.org. We have been putting out a lot of content about this crisis, and looking at one op-ed by one of our attorneys, Mark Miller, Are Quarantine Orders Unconstitutional? Directly what we're talking about. That was published a couple weeks ago. We've been putting out lots of content about the crisis and about all of our cases, and we're fighting for liberty coast to coast. So pacificlegal.org is our website.
I appreciate
what we're doing there. Follow us on Twitter as well and other social media platforms.
Absolutely. Attorney Daniel Ortner, thank you for taking the time to come on my program this morning, Daniel. Look forward to having you back. All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Our constitutional values, our First Amendment, Second Amendment, etc., being reduced in value because of this pandemic. And he told you right there that people need to start speaking up and standing up for bringing those values back to America and not let government keep control of them. Very well stated. Thank you very much. Let's get a good word on here right now. Let's talk about some folks. You know what? You're home. You can't go around and do a whole lot right now. You might as well enjoy your home. Well, that means Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main Street in Burley, with all the complete sound systems, all the complete home theater systems, all the brand new TVs like Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs. Oh, what a great selection. If you're going to be at home, you might as well enjoy it. Stop in and see our friends. Give them a call, 678-6997. I'll say that number again. 678-6997, Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Curtis and Lorena and the staff, really nice people with all your electronics needs at Patterson's Electronics. Wow, we've got a busy half hour coming up in just a little bit. We're going to have Vicky's Country Gardens, and then also we're going to squeeze in Representative Fred Wood next half hour. We need to get some more information out about the May 19th primaries. I urge you, if you haven't done it, go to idahovotes.gov. And I'm going to say this before Fred even gets on the air, and get the application for your ballot and take care of it. We are just a matter of days away from that primary, and I want to urge you to get your balloting, okay? Don't forget that. Meanwhile, also, I want to remind you about what's going on over at our friends Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Now, they will help you by appointment. In other words, you call them, and they'll make arrangements for you to get down to the store, and they'll talk to you about anything and everything you need for the beautification and the comfortization of your home. I'm talking all the furniture. I'm talking all the carpet buys. I'm talking all the mattresses. I'm talking about everything at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. They're going to be proactive and stay to help you, and I'm going to give you 2 telephone numbers so that you can get a hold of Jeff and the staff over at Lee's Furniture, and they can assist you. 878-2341. Okay, 878-2341. Or you can call Jeff personally at 670-2864. And they are so committed to helping you with the best in buys on recliners and the lift recliners and the sofas and the mattresses and the floor coverings, everything at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley. Really, really nice people. All right, what we're going to do in just a moment is I want to urge you, Jamie Walker called and talked to Deanne a little bit about Kevin over at Daryl's Cleaners and the kind of shape he's in this morning. He got beat up pretty good in that fall off a roof, and Kevin has been so good to us over the many years. There are various sources out there where you can help the family and help Kevin with a financial donation, and tomorrow I'm going to give you a whole bunch of information as to how you can contribute and help them, and we're going to do a little bit right here at Zeb at the Ranch too. Super good people, Kevin and Daryl's Cleaners. Thank you for all you've done for the community. Now it's time for us to maybe give back a little bit, if you would. We're going to send this over to Wheels a little bit early so that we can get everything in starting in the next half hour with Vicky and then also Representative Fred Wood. So, Wheels, old buddy, old pal, if you'd take it away, I'd appreciate it.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Thank you very much. By the way, I mentioned this earlier this morning, and I really urge everybody within the sound of my voice, whether you're here in this southern Idaho area or Texas or Louisiana, we got a lot of listeners every day all over the country. Thank you very much. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair, 635 21st Street in Heyburn, is for sale. It's a great business opportunity. Doug is selling the business. It's a turnkey business. I mean, all you got to do is just walk in and say, this is mine. It's easy. And I'll tell you what, the options are that he will train you all about the business and rebuilding starters and repair, and you'd better check it out. And when I say check it out, call these numbers. Write it down quick. 878-4991. 878-4991. Or after hours, 431-5282. And Doug will give you all the information about a great turnkey operation. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street in Heyburn for sale. You give him a call today. Right now, we're going to talk to a lovely lady, a lady that has been on my program a long, long time, and I have the utmost respect for her. She is a graduate in a college course called Gardenology. Here she is, the lovely Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Garden.
I'm a graduate.
Absolutely.
All righty, that sounds like a plan to me. I graduated something a long time ago, but I can't remember what.
Well, I tell you what, I'm amazed at your knowledge about gardening and lawn care and all the things about the great outdoors that people want to do on their property. I really do respect that. I had an email from a lady, and I thought all ladies knew about flowers, but this one was really honest and open and said, I don't know anything about flowers. I moved here to southern Idaho in the last year. I'm synopsizing everything. And she said, I'd like to start raising some really pretty flower beds and everything, but I've never done this before. And she said, I don't know a petunia from a dandelion. What would you tell a person like this?
Well, I mean, you basically have to come in. We'll educate her a little bit. We can show her a dandelion and we can show her a petunia, and then she'll be one step up that ladder. But, yeah, a lot of people, it's just a matter of knowing what goes where. Shade-loving plants won't work out in the sun. Sun-loving plants won't work in the shade. And that's what we're here for. If anybody's got a problem or needs information, we'd be glad to kind of help about. Like I tell people, bring me pictures of the flower bed that you're wanting to do, and we can help you out figuring out shrubs, perennials, flowers, whatever will work for you.
Let me ask you this, and this is me asking this question and not this lady. But, one of the frustrating things anybody has, whether you live in town or whether you live out in the country, dogs coming onto your property and just absolutely massacring your flower beds. Any suggestions?
The neighbors get really mad when I say this usually, but sometimes buckshot works pretty good.
Yes.
I mean, unfortunately, dogs are a problem because if they come in and they're peeing on the shrubs. They will literally burn the
Yes.
evergreen shrubs, completely. And there's nothing, it'll just kill an entire spot on them. And male dogs are bad for that. It's a major problem, and there's not much of anything shy of scaring them with something, that's about the only way you can keep them out, or fencing them out, or calling the people that own them and say, keep your dog home.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, everybody that's listening to this, be a good neighbor and keep your doggone dogs on your own property.
Yes, because they do have, there is problems, there's no doubt. And they can be very destructive if they run through a garden. They break things down,
yes.
Break your plants off. They'll dig holes and dig up plants, dig up roots and damage plants. But some of the worst thing that most of the time is when they come in and they start marking their territory in there. Especially if you've got dogs and. It's a real problem. It can really be very costly to the homeowner that's trying to have a nice yard and having these dogs running through it.
Absolutely. Now,
that's why I say, if you can get a shot at them and hit them in the rear end with some buckshot, it ain't going to kill them, but it might make them decide they might not want to come back through there again.
That's what happened when the Hatfield and McCoy's war started, too.
Yeah. A little electric fence works sometimes. Hook up a couple of wires of electric fence around your shrubs and stuff, and if they happen to miss aim, they find out that isn't a fun thing to do either.
Well, yeah, but it's even more fun to watch if it's hooked up to 220 instead of 110.
Backflip city, yeah.
Listen, Mother's Day, it's hard for me to imagine that Mother's Day is just literally days away. What's going on over at Vicky's for Mother's Day?
Well, we're getting ready for Mother's Day. Our baskets are in good shape. A lot of them have been sold already, but we still have a good supply of baskets. Lots of flowers, some really neat gift ideas, some of the yard art and things like that the ladies like. And there's always, if you're in doubt and you don't know what to get, the gift certificates are a real go-to item. A lot of my gals will come in and they'll say, if you see my husband, just tell him to get me a gift certificate so I pick out what color I want.
Okay. Gift certificates, all of this available at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Now, what about the hours that you're open? I got more questions, but I want to hit that right now so people are aware of the telephone number and the hours that you're open.
On Monday through Friday, we are here from 9 to 5:30 at least. Sometimes we're even later than that if we still have customers. And on Saturdays, we are 10 to 5. We'll be probably going 10 to 5:30 on Saturdays now. And we will be opening this Sunday from 11 to 3.
Okay. And the best number to catch you?
The best number to catch is here at the store, 208-438-5663. But if you can't get through on that line, you can always try me on my cell phone at 208-431-5667.
Okay, now last week we talked a little bit about the wind, and as luck would have it, boy, it is boiling up outside today. They're calling for another 40-mile-an-hour wind set for the Magic Valley. What's this doing to the crops, the plants, the flowers, etc.?
Well, I'll guarantee you what, if you haven't planted, don't go out and plant today, because you're going to have a knee on them just to keep them on the ground. The wind is probably one of the toughest things there is on the plants. It stresses them, it weakens them, it dries the foliage out so badly. And I usually just tell people that after you had one of these big windstorms like this, if it goes down in the evening, go out and give your plants just a nice drink of water. Because their foliage has been dried out by the wind, and a nice drink of water will help them stand back up and kind of revive them just a little bit.
After a windstorm like today, maybe a little bourbon too, or what are you saying?
You just never know, give them a little shot of fun and games there. But the wind is one of the hardest things on plants. I mean, it does. It breaks them down. It breaks the leaves, even on the trees. I mean, trees are coming out looking really pretty right now, and this comes through and just beats the daylights out of the flowers and, just kind of ruins the whole look of them. So.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about it. If you've got plants out or whatever, planters or something out, tuck them in where the wind's not going to get them. And if you can get any kind of a wind, anything to stop the wind, just make sure whatever you put out there doesn't blow over on your plants. That's not a good thing either. So,
and Vicki, what about the fact that for those that already have had their garden in for, let's say, 2, 3, 4 weeks, and there are some, what about taking care of the garden, like chemicals, fertilizers, that type of thing? We haven't really addressed that too much.
Well, yeah, if you've got your plants and stuff already in, if you didn't fertilize when you tilled your garden and stuff, it's always best to, once your plants are in and established, to give them a little bit, to start with your fertilizations on it, just to give them that energy to keep going. They need to be fed. So after they're once in and established and you're seeing that they're taking effect, everything's taking a hold and everything's looking good, come in with your fertilizers in. Some people fertilize at the very beginning when they till their gardens. And so then you've got about a month about every month, if you'll give them a boost of fertilizer, that really kind of helps them keep going.
Okay. Now, of course, one thing that always grows, or a group of things that always grow, are the weeds. Better get on top of that right away, right?
Yes, the weeds they will pull more nutrient out of your soil than your plants will. And I mean, they deplete your soil completely. So the more you can keep those weeds out of there and keep them down, the better your plants are going to do. They rob the plants of moisture and of nutrient, and that's why they grow so nice and big and healthy, and your plants just kind of sit there and watch them.
What's the best way to take care of those? Is it with the standard old hoe out there, chopping them off, or what would you suggest?
That's probably one of the best. A lot of people right now, they'll clean they get their plants in, get everything up, they go through and hoe it out really good, and then they put the weed mat down right up next to their plants, and the weed mat stops the weeds from growing.
Okay. Now,
it lets the water through and everything, but it's black, and it warms the ground up, which helps the plants grow, and it also keeps the weeds from coming up.
Okay, now let's revert back to the first program of a couple of weeks ago. We were telling everybody to plant their gardens. Some people haven't even started. Are they too late? And do you still have all the garden plants and seed over at Vicky's Country Garden?
Oh, you bet. There's no way that they're too late. This is a prime time to get started on gardens. I mean, a lot of times, as everybody knows, those early gardeners got a lot of their stuff in, and it got cold enough, it even froze some of the people's cabbages. Ooh. And cabbage doesn't freeze. But when it hits 18, 19 degrees, it will get it. The ground's warmer now. Whatever you plant now is going to take off and grow fast. It's going to take a hold better. And you're by no means are you too late. I mean, the whole month of May is an awesome time. Clear up into the first part of June. You've still got plenty of time to get a garden in. And yes, we do have a full line of seeds. We've got a ton of tomato plants, and we've got peppers and more peppers on the way. And I think we're pretty well set with everything they need.
All right. Now it's time for the Vicky's Gardening Tip of the Week.
Well, the gardening tip for the week is, like we just talked about, this wind is going to do a lot of damage on perennials, rose bushes, anything in your garden. First thing you want to do is tomorrow, if this wind goes down, is check your moisture, because wind pulls moisture out of the ground at a very fast rate. And usually, it's like I've said, after a good windstorm like this, everything does better if it gets a nice drink of water. So just wait for the wind to go down, go out and check your soil, see how it's doing. If it's looking dry and the plants are looking a little stressed, give them a nice drink of water, and they'll perk right back up again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Number to call, 438-5663. And the professor of gardenology, the lovely Miss Vicky. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Well, I would have a lot nicer day if this miserable wind would go away, but we'll get through this just like we get through all of the springs in Idaho. We'll make it.
God bless you.
And just everybody take care and stay safe.
That a girl. Thank you so much, Vicky. Talk to you next Monday. Appreciate it.
All right. Hey, thanks, Zeb.
All right. Vicky's Country Garden, really a nice lady at 185 South 600 West of Paul. Again, that number, 438-5663. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Hello, Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. Telephone number to call, 324-7657. Or, if you want to see a list of all the delicious meats from Scarro's Meats, go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. I mean, all the bacons and all the hams and the marinated pork ribs, the St. Louis style ribs, and of course the tri-tips. Oh, the list goes on. Absolutely delicious meats from Scarrow's Meats. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Windy conditions for today, but we are on a warming trend. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Today we are going to be in a wind advisory, maybe some blowing dust by this afternoon, gradually becoming mostly sunny, and we are expecting a high of 66. Wind gusts as high as 40 miles an hour. For tonight, areas of blowing dust. Before 9 o'clock, partly cloudy. After that, we are expecting a high of 43. Winds could gust as high as 35 miles an hour. By tomorrow, everything calming down. Still wind gusts as high as 25 miles an hour. Sunny skies, high of 71. Mostly clear for tomorrow night with a low of 47. Wednesday's going to be the best day. Mostly sunny. Highs are going to be in the low 80s. Then by Thursday, maybe a chance of some storm action. And we are expecting a high of 77. That's a look at your weather forecast for 7:30.
Thank you, Gina, and brought to everybody by Scarrow's Meats. Don Scarrow and his entire operation over at 331 North Road, Jerome. Man, they have got some delicious meats over there. 324-7657, Scarrow's Meats. And remember, they're changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. For the last couple of weeks, we've been blessed to have our dear friend, Representative Fred Wood, come on our program, and we've been talking about two categories of conversation. One, of course, the coronavirus, and then also the May 19th primary election by absentee ballot only. And I invited Fred to come on again this morning and give us an update as to idahovotes.gov and getting and requesting an absentee ballot. Fred, good morning to you. How are you?
I'm doing good, Zeb. How are you? I'd be doing better if you'd stop the wind.
You know, honestly, you can cuss it, you can discuss it, but it still remains every day. And by the way, if you find a 7 3/8 black resistol, it's mine. Bring it back.
That's quite a ways, but in this wind it could have made it, I guess.
Absolutely. Fred, we don't want to waste a lot of time, and we've only got a short time, but where are we at, in your opinion, as to getting the ballots for the May 19th primary?
Well, it depends, I think, on which county you're in, okay? Apparently, Ada County has some real issues down there. However, let's take Cassia-Mendocino County's Legislative District 27. I think we're in good shape. I did talk to Tony Page this morning. They've already had 700 requests for ballots, and they think they're about right on course with how many people they think will cast a ballot. In 2016, they had 2,000 people vote in the primary. So 700 have already requested their ballot, but there's still plenty of time for others to request their ballot. There is a real issue with the Secretary of State's website if, in fact, you're trying to fill it out online and submit it online for your request. However, Zeb, I would not recommend you do that. They have a PDF form. You can go to the Secretary of State's website, go right to the PDF form. You can fill it out, print it off, sign it, and mail it to the local county clerk. That portion of the Secretary of State's website is working very well.
Okay.
I would also encourage you, if you run into any kind of a problem at all, if you check the websites for the counties, the county clerk's phone number is right there. And both Tanya and Joe have told me that if you run into any kind of a problem at all, just stop, immediately call their office. I either Rupert or Burley, whichever county you live in, and they'll walk you through it, and they'll make sure that you get a ballot request so you can fill it out and mail it back to them.
Okay, now, Fred,
Status at this point in time, I think things are working pretty well here.
Okay.
Cassia and Mid-Doka counties, but they're not necessarily working that well in other areas of the state. And the online issue of trying to fill it out online is not working, Jeff.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Fred, because I'm not just restricted to 2 counties. I go all over, as a matter of fact, and now on the Internet service, we have listeners every day in Texas, Arkansas, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, you name it. So, that being said, we're talking primarily of counties here like Twin Falls, Jerome, Gooding. We're talking about a multiplicity of counties. Are they having trouble? What can we do to correct it, if anything?
I've not heard where any of the counties in the Magic Valley area are having any trouble. So I can't advise you further than that, other than I know that Ada County is having significant problems. But now that's Ada County, and we'll leave it to them to solve their problems. I really think that the county clerks in the Magic Valley area are really on top of this. I think that the Secretary of State's website, if you are just requesting or print off a ballot, you can fill it out and then print it off, or you can print it off blank and fill it out, sign it and date it, and mail it in to the county clerk. The counties in the Magic Valley are not having any problems, Zeb. The only issue is making our citizens understand that this election is going to be by absentee ballot only, and so don't wait till the end to print out a form, fill it out, and get it back to the county clerk, which is a form requesting an absentee ballot.
Okay, now, I want to have you stress, if you would, to the audience that May 19th, everybody thinks the ballot has to be in by May 19th in order to be valid and counted, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
No. You just have to request a ballot by May the 19th. And as I described earlier, you will be able to register and request it that day. And as I described earlier, the county clerk, at least in Cassia County, is going to have drive-through lanes, 2 drive-through lanes, the parking lot at the county courthouse. One of them is going to be so that you can bring in your ballot packet filled out inside of the 2 envelopes, the outside envelope signed appropriately, and you can physically drop that in the ballot box if you feel more secure doing that. The other line is going to be a drive-through line where they will hand you an application, and you can fill out. You can go somewhere else, fill out the application, drive back through the line, and drop the application at that box at the county courthouse parking lot at that time, and then they'll mail you one, and you've got until June the 2nd to get it back.
Okay.
It does have to be back no later than June the 2nd.
All right. You know, you mentioned Cassia County and Minidoka County, and if you would please, so that we can start to make it a little easier for everybody, I'm going to compile a list of telephone numbers of the county clerks, so if they have questions, of any county that's listenable, if you will, of my program in this area. What are the numbers that you know that we can put on the air this morning?
I would put on the air, I don't know of any this morning. I would have to look them up because I have the cell phone for both Joe and Tanya, and that's how I get a hold of them.
I see.
But it is available on the county websites, and also, Zeb, I would have the address for the county clerks. Now, that may be a little bit more than you want to put on the air, but at least you can put the phone numbers on the air. But every county has a web page. You can go to the county webpage if you have access to a computer or smartphone or anything else, And very few people lack that access today, Zeb. You can go to those county web pages, and right at the top on all of them is the county clerk and the office numbers for the county clerk. And if there's more than one office number, it'll be listed.
All right. Representative Fred Wood. Now, I've imposed on Fred for the last 3 weeks, and I'm going to be imposing on him again for at least the next couple of weeks to keep this information fresh and current on the May 19th primary. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the program this morning.
Zeb, thank you so much. God bless, and take care.
All right, sir. Thank you much. An individual that we're blessed to have as a state representative, and that's Fred Wood. Thank you very, very much. What's cooking for tomorrow's program? We'll take a look real quick. We're going to have energy advocate and absolutely policy analyst Dan Kish coming on at 9:06. Then a good friend of this program, John O'Connor, is going to be talking about the coronavirus and what it's done to our economy and our society. Then at 10:06, Dr. History will be coming on the program. And then one of my very favorite guests at 10:30, Gregory Wrightstone, talking about the idiocy of climate change and what the left is trying to do right now. Anyhow, we want to urge you that when we end the program, we always say the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to me: in God we trust. Absolutely. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 8:06. We hope you don't get blown away. Hold on to your hat. Tighten your stampede strings. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. Take care.